Hello everyone, just waiting for people to get on, guys, so I'll just get everybody just another minute before we get started on today's Very Vero Pure Tone Permanent class. Guys, I'll just give it that moment so people can really log on and jump on. Got a great class for you today, guys, so give us a yell out on the messages there, send us some emojis or different things so as we can see you're on there, we know what's going on. We're up for lots of questions. Anything that comes through today, let us know about what you would like to know. So share anything. Might be a question that you've thought of before, maybe in general colour. You know, come through with those sort of things. Let us know, and we can share that back with everyone who's watching either now or later on, of course, on the recorded version on Sabre Education Experience Forum. Okay, so guys, we're going to get started. So hello everyone and welcome to Sabre Education Experience Forum and to our class today, which is Very Vero Pure Tone Permanent Colors. Now, this is session 2 of this class. I'd like to give a shout out to Carly Canham, who ran the class number 1, and thank you. And we'll be bouncing back and forth as far as who'll be taking each of the sessions from there. So hi Carls, and look forward to you doing one of the next ones shortly. Guys, today we're going to be covering about 4 separate topics. Number 1, we're going to very quickly talk about what makes permanent hair color. What are the key ingredients that put together that formulate color? From there, we're actually going to go straight into the Vero K-PAK color features and benefits. So what makes it really unique compared to anything else on the market? So, you know, what are those things that make it very special? It's K-PAK. And from there, we'll then get into each of the color families. So we'll really go through what each family is, what its base is, so where it sits in the color wheel, what you use it for. So you're going to know each time when you look at that shade guide, this is where I can use that family, here's where I can do it. We'll give you some tips and tricks along the way, so look out for some things there, and let's get started. To begin with, what I'd like to really quickly point out is, as we work through, we've got the Vero system you can see set up over here. Really, one of the things I love is that this is it's a real colorist color. So when we look at it, we're talking pure tone. And when I look at even each of the boxes here, you can see everything is color coded immediately. So my naturals are a blue base, my golds are a gold base, and they're highlighted on the actual box and right on the end of the tube. So when it's, you know, Friday, Saturday morning in the salon and you're at 100 miles an hour, you can really easily identify what color family you're working with really simply. From there, as we look at the actual range as well, I've got here 2 tubes. What I just would like to identify is Vero K-PAK Color Permanent is of course a gold tube, 74 gram tube. Now its partner in crime, Demi Permanent Color, okay, Vero K-PAK Chrome, is in a silver tube, 60 gram color. So from there, really simple again to identify when you're working with it. If you're working with Vero Chrome, it does also have a black box. Black box when you work with Vero Chrome Activator, black writing and black lid on the Vero Chrome Activator. So easy to identify for Vero Chrome and Vero Color. The contrast, of course, is we have a clear white bottle when we're working with Vero K-PAK Color Permanent. We have more of a goldy brown writing on it, so gold and gold. And so that makes it really simple to identify whether it's 10 volume, 20 volume peroxide, 30, 40, or also our Vero Glaze formula. By utilizing this Vero Glaze formula, it does allow you to turn your Vero K-PAK Color Permanent shade into a demi-permanent or a tone-on-tone color. So it gives you some alternative options to work with when you're using the Vero K-PAK color range. So guys, from here, let's really jump into it. And that question of, well, what makes up hair color? What are the key ingredients when we're putting hair color together? So we're gonna have a look over here. Up on the wall here, we can actually see our 3 key ingredients of hair color. Number 1, ammonia. We all hear of ammonia and it is an ingredient in hair color. Ammonia is actually in a gas form when you're working with with, for example, Vero K-PAK color. And what that actually means is that, number one, it plays a role of it actually swells the hair shaft, allowing the color molecules to penetrate and the color to penetrate. It will also swell that hair shaft. It also aids in lifting ability of hair color. So it plays a dual role. It is the thing that causes the most damage in a hair color system as well. But we use what's called Calibrated ammonia, which is an amazing technology in Vero K-PAK. We'll talk about in a moment. The other key thing I'd like to point out though is why in a gas form? What that means is that as you actually use the color and it processes, once the gas has emitted and gone, the color will stop working. So from there, it cannot progress or progress any further if that color is left on the hair. Number two, hydrogen peroxide. Of course, that's our developers we talked about here that we're adding and mixing into our actual color range. Now, for example, we start here with 10 volume, okay? We then go to 20, 30, 40, 30 and 40 volume developer. Now, of course, when working with these, 10 volume will give us minimal lift, but maximum deposit of color. 40 volume, on the other hand, will give us maximum lift before it begins to deposit color. So the more lift we want in our hair color formula we're working with, the higher the developer we would actually work with. So 10, 20, 30 or 40. We also list them on here if you prefer to work in percentages. You can see 3, 6, 9 and 12% for your identification on there too. Okay, from there, what that role plays, it decolorizes. So our hydrogen peroxide, or peroxide in this case, it will decolorize the melanin granules, the natural pigment in the hair shaft, and then it develops the intermediate dyes to produce the new hair color. So that's that key ingredient we're working with. And then of course in Vero we predominantly work with intermediate dyes. So what's an intermediate dye? An intermediate dye is a dye that actually is in your color tube, and it needs to be mixed with your peroxide or veroxide in this case to actually develop and dye. The other key type of dyes we often work with are what we term as direct dyes. Direct dyes we know as they're a pre-formed color molecule. So when you squeeze it out the tube, you actually see it. So let's do that. We've actually, I've got here 2 separate colors for us, both in the Vero K-PAK color range. One we will notice here is a regular 10A ash series, okay, listed on the tube here. When I squirt this out, I'll just bring it down here so you can see on the paper, it comes out as a nice, clear, creamy tone. Once I mix that with my, my developer, my peroxide or veroxide, it will gradually oxidize and dye and change color. And when in doing that, it will penetrate the hair shaft and dye the actual, leave that color within the cortex of the hair. Now, I've also got, for example, one of our intensifiers, an INRV, so an Intensifier Red Violet. Now, Intensifier Red Violet, when you see here, as I squeeze it out, it actually comes out colored. So that tells me that dyes within this, this color here are a combination, or it certainly has direct dyes, preformed molecules, because I can actually see they're already colored and dyed. In this case, it contains a combination of both direct and indirect. So, you know, that's a little thing on dyes. Predominantly, when we're working through with color, we are usually working with intermediate dyes. Okay, so that's a quick sort of lesson there and running through key ingredients. Let's get into some of the key K-PAK technologies. So if I work through now with these technologies, I can see here, we have quadramine complex within our hair color. Number one, everyone knows what K-PAK is. K-PAK is that amazing reconstructive product that we work with in a cream form. We actually really put into each of our color tubes with Vero that K-PAK technology of quadramine complex to repair and reconstruct the hair. We have a very simple philosophy at Joico that the healthier condition we can get and keep a client's hair color in and their hair in, the longer their color will last, the nicer it will look, the shinier and more vibrant it will look and stay. So of course, really ensuring we're keeping that hair color really, it's reconstructing as we're coloring. 2, we work with a water-soluble base. What does that mean? It means when we get to the basin, we actually don't need to shampoo the hair when removing. So that allows really the hair color to lock in the hair and really reach its full potential. So again, amazing longevity of color because we're not shampooing immediately after that color result. We would also have, I'm going to touch on transcuticle delivery in a moment, guys, because this is a really important key part to what we do. But a couple of other things. We talk about pure tones. When we're working with Vero K-PAK color, it is a true pure tone artist palette. So if I'm working with a natural, which is a natural blue base, it's made on a blue base. If I'm working with a gold, it's made on a gold or a yellow base. If I'm working with, for example, a beige, it's made on a violet base. So when we're working with it, they are true tones. They are not mixed with natural gold or natural reds or natural ash or gold reds. Your color you can formulate perfectly for your client, which creates a beautiful formula that was basically unique to you and your client when you're working with it. And it's a true artist palette because it means everything can be mixed together because we don't have mixed tones within our color system already. From there, we have our calibrated ammonia system. As I mentioned this earlier, that very simply means when we look at the actual color, remember, ammonia does 2 things. It swells the hair shaft, allows us penetration of the cuticle surface into the hair. It also encourages lift. Now, for example, if I'm working on a level 9 compared to a level 1, on a level 9 color, I need to get a lot of lift. So I would contain more ammonia in my level 9. If I'm working with, for example, a level 1 or a level 3, I don't really need to achieve very much lift. So what that means is we actually don't contain as much ammonia. So it's calibrated perfectly to suit each individual level of color that you're working on. So if the ammonia is not required there for lifting ability, we reduce it in the actual color formula. Pretty cool, eh? So from there, we also have a dual color system, which means as we're working through with our system here, it's really easy to match up when you're doing, for example, a retouch color to formulating for your ends using either your Vero K-PAK chrome color to color balance or using your Vero glaze to color balance. So really, again, great simple system to work with. And that's one of the keys I think we look at when we work with Vero K-PAK color. It's a technical color to use, but it's not a difficult color to use, which I think is really important. So our other key feature and benefit we wanted to touch on, TCD, transcuticle delivery, we call it TCD. So trans meaning really it's that transport system through the cuticle layer of the hair into the center of the hair shaft. So if I actually look at my little picture here, this is my cuticle layer just running down here. Okay, this is the center of the hair shaft. Now, TCD is a combination of 3 key ingredients: lysine, lecithin, and also protein. So from there, when we're working through with this ingredient, what it actually does, those key ingredients of lysine particularly, and lecithin, they actually are able to slightly soften the surface of the cuticle. And if you can imagine, the surface of your cuticle is like the surface of your palm. It has little channels and membranes all through it. Now, through using the lecithin, it will actually soften those little channels and allow color, the lysine, the color pigment, and the K-PAK quadramine complex, the reconstructive ingredients, to penetrate straight through those little channels. So it means we've got a freeway straight into, straight into the center of the hair shaft. So as opposed to penetrating under solely as one method of transport under the cuticle, we are really saturating the cuticle area with color, as well as using a second method of under the cuticle area. So with that, two forms of penetration. We also, because we have the other form of penetration, don't need to swell our cuticle open as much. So immediately, we're causing less damage on the hair. So with that, two forms of penetration, less damage, plus we're penetrating with those beautiful ingredients, the lecithin, the lysine, which will give us that moisture release, and our protein to repair and strengthen as we go. So guys, a stronger saturation more evenly across the hair shaft means more grey coverage, working through your more even results as we're working through. So that's one of the keys of Vero K-PAK color technology. There we go. Okay, I'm going to move on to now, let's go on to each of our color families. One thing we're working as we work through here, I'm actually going to start here with my natural series. Now, as I'm working with my natural series, let's put that down. One of the key things you can see, we work with a numbering and lettering system. So here it is 1N. Whenever you look on an actual tube of color, you will have it listed, immediately on the end of your color as well. So you can see exactly what color you're working with. From there, what we also have on our shade guide is it's telling us exactly where each individual color sits on the color wheel. So it makes it really easy to understand and work with. So if I look here at, for example, a 6N, or a 7N, I can see it sits through here. I know it's in this blue area. I look straight onto my color wheel and there it is. There's 6N and there's 7N. Really simple to work with. So, hi guys, hi Guillermo, great to see you there. Hope things are well in Punta Cana. Oh, not Dominican, in your hometown. From there guys, as we're working through here, so a natural series is a cool natural series. When we're using our natural series here, we can use it number 1 for grey coverage, 2, we can mix it with any other color within the range to naturalize or neutralize that color. So if I mixed it with, for example, an ash series, it would make the ash more of a natural tone and dilute the amount of ash tone that I would actually have in that color. If I mix it with a gold tone, which would be, a gold is of course warm, it's yellow, it would basically make that gold a little bit softer, not as warm. So natural is something that we would use, number 1 for optimum grey coverage, number 2 to actually soften or tone down or naturalize or neutralize any other tone within the range, We're going to touch on a little bit of coverage later as well. From there, let's move on to our ash series. Easy to identify once again, 10A for example, down to 4A. As I work through with my ash series, the ash series, predominant base, starts at green, and as it works out lighter and gets lighter, it will work around to being more of a blue or blue-green to blue base in the very, very light ash areas. But we are predominantly working through there with a green base for maximum control of warmth. On our deeper levels, as with lightning, we will go up to those lighter levels which don't require as much green. So when we're using our ash series through here, it will give us maximum control of unwanted warm tones in the hair. So if you wanted to counteract yellow or orange, that's how we will work with it. The key thing is once we are over 25% white or grey hair, we should start to add some natural family to our ash series to give us that coverage of the white or grey. Next series we'll move to will of course be our gold series. Our gold series, these are a beautiful, soft, warm golden tone. So when you're working with the gold series, a lot of people, when they're working with Gs or golds, they're often quite scared to actually use them. It's like, oh, it might be hard or too warm. The golds in the Vero series are beautiful. They're a beautiful, soft, warm golden tone. One of the other key things when you are working with the gold series is that they also cover grey. So when we're working with our golds or grey coverage, I now have two options for coverage. Natural for cool coverage, gold if I want warm coverage of grey, okay? Gold will, of course, it is as we can see on here, yellow base. So I will find it to start with up here in our yellow, does tend to work into sort of that yellow-orange secondary colour on the colour wheel. But again, really simple. This makes it easy to work around for your colour formulation. Let's move on to our beige series. I'm just going to take that out there and fold our colour over so we don't colour on. So our beige series, guys, the beige are a violet base and do also offer coverage for white hair. So when we're working with our beige series, from there we can actually know immediately now natural series for coolest coverage. Beige will also give me coverage of grey, not as cool as a natural, not as warm as a gold. So it really sits in between the two of them. It is a violet base, so when we're using this, if we want to warm up a beige series, okay, I could add some gold to it. If I want to cool it down, I could add some natural series to it or ash series. But the beige are a really lovely, you know, soft, violety beige tone. They're more of that pinky type tone. Combination of red, blue, and a tiny little bit of yellow from there. So when we're working with the beige series, they're just a gorgeous one. Great for low lighting, great for putting that little bit of depth in them and giving you that really soft color. Who doesn't love a beige? Okay, everyone loves it. The lighter levels also, particularly when you're wanting to maybe tone hair, these are beautiful for also mixing them with your toner series to make it a little bit more punchy. Beige series, once again guys, on the violet base we can see here. Yep. Okay, red series. As we work into our reds, and the great thing about our red series, guys, you'll notice here, really easy for identification. Warm reds to the top, cool reds to the bottom. So that makes it really great to, you know, hold up, match up to your client's skin tone, their eye color, and see what's really going to work for them as a tonal quality of warmer, cooler tones that you're working with. So here with my red series, you've got all your reds covered, from your deep violet reds to your red mahoganies, your really strong garnet reds, or up through to your red coppers or your light ginger reds. Everything is really covered in the red series from there. Again, coded to know where they are. Violet into a red mahogany, RM of course, red mahogany, ruby red, and of course up to our lighter reds, which are a 6 level red copper, okay, or a red gold in our 8RG. So working through with those beautiful, strong, punchy, fiery reds. When you're utilizing again our red series, once we get over that 25% grey, you know, best to start to add some base into your formula to give you that coverage. Now, this is where it's beautiful in customizing your Vero shades. If I'm working with a cool red, okay, what actually makes cool red? Red and violet, so red and blue. So of course, if I need a base to cover grey, by adding my natural series, which is blue, it will work in harmony with my cool reds. If I'm working with a copper, or red gold, what makes copper? Yellow and red. So therefore my gold series will allow me to give me coverage while also keeping intensity in my red series and longevity in my warm red series. So keep that in mind for your coverage models. Okay, guys, we are loaded with red options. So we also have in our red families, we have our XRs, okay, and also our fashion reds. Now, what I will point out when we're working with these, fashion reds to begin with. Fashion, as always, has a price. The fashion tones here, they do contain some of those direct dyes. So when we're working with these, be aware when you squeeze them out, you mix them up and apply them. Not to be sitting them next to, for example, right next to a blonde if your client's going to be going home and washing it next to her blonde highlight, because those direct dyes can work into and move into the blonde. So when utilizing these are really bright, intense fashion shades, great longevity to them, and when you're using them, be aware of the direct dyes. These are the two categories that we do shampoo out of the hair, just because we want to make sure we remove any of those excess dyes off the cuticle layer of the hair shaft. Okay, so fashion series, bright, vibrant, intense, with direct dyes for that extra vibrancy that sits on the surface of the cuticle layer. Then we have our XR series, our extra reds. You'll notice these are highlighted in the actual colors here. They have their own box in color, in that true red color. The extra reds have our new dye technology that really allows that pigment to actually, that extra bond technology that really locks that red pigment into the hair. So not only are they super intense, but they have incredible staying power. So guys, with those, you will find once you've got those in, that color, our 5XR or our 7XR, they are going to last like nothing else in the hair. You will love them. Okay, from there, our next color family we move to is our high lifts and ultra high lifts. We have two forms of high lift categories that we work with in the Vero series. Guys, both of them will achieve 4 levels of lift when mixed with 2 parts 40 volume peroxide. When we're utilizing our high lifts as compared to the ultra high lifts, these have a much stronger or heavier dye load, as well as you will notice also where they sit on the color wheel. Ultra high lift matte ash actually sits at a green. So it's actually designed, if we look at the color wheel, okay, green we find over here on the color wheel. So of course it's designed to actually counteract red in the hair. So when we're working with this, this color, it's designed really to be used on, for example, a level 5 natural base hair color to give you more of that caramel type tone in the hair. Not to use on a level, 7, 8, 9 to give you a blonde. It's really going to give you that counteraction on your deeper levels for your nice caramels. So each of these families will be utilized with 2 parts, 30 or 40 volume. When working with them, remember the regular high lift series will be used from a level 7 and up. It can be on fine hair used on a level 6 and up if you're really comfortable with the neutralizing and the liftability of that client's hair. The ultra high lifts, extra counteraction. So if you really want to get a stronger counteraction of warmth in the hair, ultra high lift matte ash and ultra high lift ash on your levels really 5 to 6. And as you're working up, ultra high lift platinum and natural, you can use through your medium to lighter levels, your level 6 to 7s, etc. from there for extra counteraction of warmth. High lifts, guys, one of the important points, not only does their mixing change, but timing. We need to leave them on for up to 60 minutes at least, give them maximum time to lift and maximum time to deposit and counteract that tone in the hair. Okay, our final category of hair color that we will work through today is, of course, our toners and intensifiers. Our toners, you'll see at the top of the page here, we have a toner TSB, silver blonde, a beige blonde, and a pearl blonde. Again, a blue base, it's really a red violet base and a violet base. Now, our toner series, these are a soft pastel toner. They're designed to be used on a level 9 or 10 pre-lightened bleached hair. When we're working through, they provide simply tone. So with that, after the hair has been pre-lightened, toners can be mixed, a 1-to-1 mixing ratio. For your fastest depositing action, mix them with Vero Glaze. To slow down that depositing action, You can mix with 10 volume. That will, of course, give you a slight amount of lift if it goes onto natural hair. Be aware of that. And you can also, for more translucent results, mix with 20 volume. Once again, that will give you a tiny amount of lift, particularly if you're working on natural hair, so be aware of that, guys. I often use my Vero Glaze as my toning option when working with these. That way, if I'm working through highlighting, etc., I know I'm not going to be crossing over and getting any lift on that natural pigment of hair that might not be highlighted. Timing is 5 to 20 minutes or 3 to 20 minutes. Whenever you feel it's ready, you rinse off, okay? So lots of options again working through here. And of course, at the bottom of our page here, we have our intensifiers and color correctors. Guys, intensifiers and color correctors are an additive that you can add into any of your Vero K-PAK color formulas. So from there, when you're working with this, we can add up to 25% of our mix, or 1/4 of our mix can be an intensifier or color corrector. Color corrector is allowed a little bit of extra leniency. We can use up to half of our formula of CCV if we're mixing, for example, with a high lift color. So it sort of does come out of the box a little bit there for you to really give you that little bit of extra counteraction in places. When working with each of our intensifiers, guys, INV, INRV, and INR do all contain direct dyes. So once again, just be aware of staining when you're going to be using those. INS silver and blue, great for using in those natural or ash tones when you want to get that little bit of extra counteraction from there. Yeah.
We have a question from Philip. What do you use to intensify gold in a formula?
Okay, great question with that, Philip. Intensifying a gold, the option really to go with there is, and I know it's a difficult challenge, I would work back into a tiny amount, okay, of, for example, if you need, and I know it's not gold, but it is a red gold, so if you can use just a smidgen of an 8RG to give you a little bit of extra warmth, or I would use a slightly deeper gold tone. Best option to work with from there.
And also coppers.
Coppers, working through with our coppers, I would really, okay, they are as intense as you will go. We don't actually contain a copper intensifier. You can, of course, flip into, and it won't give you a copper tone. It can give you a more brilliant red or even a little bit brighter copper if you add a tiny amount of INRR. Be careful not to add too much, or yes, it will change the tone and go into a red. No secret little formulas, unfortunately, there, Philip, to be able to add to that, but certainly a tiny amount of the 8RG, if used in a small amount, will give you that little bit of a more golden tone to the colour from there. Yep. I hope that answers that question. Guys, from there, really in wrapping up, the key things for us to touch on, of course, our mixation with our Vero K-PAK colour formulas. They are a 1-to-1 mix. So we use a 70-gram tube of 74 gram mil or gram tube of colour, and it can be mixed with 74 mils of whichever your chosen developer is. The same mixing ratio applies if you are using your Vero Glaze. The only thing that will change is please ensure if you're using Vero Glaze as a demi or a tone-on-tone colour, ensure the colour is mixed for a minimum of 3 to 5 minutes before you apply it to the hair. What that will do, it allows the colour to oxidize, and from there you will find the ammonia will basically dissipate and you're left with your tone-on-tone colour that you're working with, okay? Remember, lighter the colour, more ammonia, so if you need to, give it longer and give it a couple of extra mixes prior to actually mixing. I find a great tip with it is I make my colour selection with my client, then I mix my colour up, then I would take it to the basin and really go through that cleansing process if I need to with a clarifying shampoo or a regular colour shampoo prior to application, and then I can jump back and apply colour afterwards if I'm using my Vero Glaze.
Philip has just asked, when might there be a thing tutorial on Age Defy?
Age Defy, great question. Thank you, Philip. There is one coming up. We have a specific tutorial coming up on Age Defy. I will have to get that date for you and get back to you. I can't remember off the top of my head. So we will get back
We will
to
let you know.
on that one.
We will let you know.
Definitely. Tune in for that one. Guys, from there, that's our little wrap up today. Of course, we work with all support products. Our key support product, of course, prior to any color series, is our Defy Damage series, Pro Series 1, and of course, finished with Pro Series 2 at the basin. If we're just taking a color through without the requirement of our Defy Damage, of course, we do work with our HKP, which is our hydrolyzed keratin protein. It's our liquid porosity equalizer. So key things for our support products there, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed that, guys. That gives us a wrap up today of key ingredients in colour, how hair colour works particularly, key ingredients of our K-PAK technology, what makes it really unique and special, as well as what each of those colour families do and how you can use them in the salon. So if you've got any further questions, please jump on. Look out on our C forum for next week. We've got another class running next Tuesday. So have a great day, guys, and see you all soon.